Hello, I'm Dan Marquis, your friendly neighborhood dope. And if you've been visiting my channel, you know I've made several videos on these switches in the door, how to rebuild them, how to clean them, how to take them apart. But I've never made one on how to remove it from the car because I didn't have a car to take it out of. And I've been watching Facebook Marketplace for one to come up for sale close by that I could visit, and this nice man here has allowed me to come up and show you how to remove these switches correctly out of his car. And so let's get to that. First thing you need is a screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver. There's supposed to be a video here of me removing the armrest. No idea what happened to it. Okay. All right, now you can see, I hope. Let me get out of the sun, maybe you can see it better. The opening where the armrest was, and you'll notice here and here, those holes are for plastic clips that help hold the armrest on. Depending on the car, you might have to wiggle the armrest a little bit to pull those clips loose. But all you do is just remove those screws as I did, and then wiggle it, and it'll come loose on you. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pry up the back of this switch. The front of the switch is captured, and we're not going to bother the front of it. We're just going to pry up the back of it. Let me get the tool. I like to use this body tool because it has this 90-degree or 45-degree bend in it, and it helps me with prying it up. But you can do this with a flat blade screwdriver or anything that you can get under the switch with. So now you can see it's coming up, and you see on the back of, where's it? There it is. You see here on the back, many times on the back there is a stainless steel spring clip that helps hold the switch in. Many of them are missing, as this one is. Sometimes in the reinserting the switch, it falls down into the door, and sometimes people just forget to put it back on. But if you lift the back of your switch and you see that stainless steel spring, just keep working the switch up until you can put a little pressure on that spring and get your switch out. Alright, here's another gotcha, and it's a really serious one. Looking at the switch, you can see it's trying to come apart. Almost all of these switches have been worked on before, and so when they put back in, if they're not really fastened real well, they can come apart when you're taking them out. Don't let it do that. Make sure you keep that switch together as you remove it from the door, because you can spill the internal works of the switch down in the door or somewhere else and lose them, and then you're screwed. Okay, now I have the switch out, and you can see better how the top is trying to separate from the bottom. You don't want to allow that to happen. And then you can see the wires here. But the first thing you have to do is you have to disconnect these two electrical connections on the back of the switch. They've just got a little clip holding them in place. You just pry the clip a little bit and pull those two off. Those connections are for the door locks and the seat controls. Okay, now we've got those two connections disconnected from the switch. We can get more slack in the wires, and we can pull them out further, and it reveals the rest of the connections. There's 3 more connections. Okay, now you can see the other 3 connections. 2 of them are the same kind of clips holding them together. This one has a little twist to it. This one is for the door locks, and it's a power for the door locks, and it has a little twist. It's a lift the clip and twist a little bit to get it out. I was mistaken about that twist business. It has a little clip just like the others. Perhaps it was difference between my 89 and this 90, but there's no twist required. Okay, so I have the switch out now, and you can see all the connections. You can't put these back together wrong. Some people have turned this around and tried to plug it in that way, and that'll only work if that piece of that clip there is broke off. Otherwise, you can't put it back together wrong. Every one of these is unique, and it'll only go back together one way. I need to make you aware of a gotcha, and this is for when you put it back together. If you look down in there, you can see a metal rod shining pretty good there from one end of the hole to the other. It's maybe 3/16 thick. On the 89 and older, it's not quite so thick and heavy. This one may not have as much of a problem as the older ones have. But what that'll do, when you put the wires back in the hole with the switch, if those wires are all bundled up on top of that metal rod, they can prevent it from moving. And so all of a sudden your door locks don't work after you get the switch working. You need to make sure that your wires are mostly clear of that metal rod so that that doesn't happen. Okay, so we're all back together, and it's working. You just like anything, you just put it back together the way it came apart. The only real thing you want to be cautious about is getting those wires tucked in as best you can away from that piece of metal I told you about. And you want to make sure that the front of the switch, there's a little metal bracket there, and it hooks up under that bracket, and you want to make sure that it catches up under that bracket, and then you just set her back in there. And of course, there's already on my other videos of how to clean and repair them and everything, is all that information on what to do with the switches. This is just about getting them out. So let's go look at the passenger side. So here we are on the passenger side, and of course the switch is a little different. It just has that one for the one window, and then we've already removed the hand rest, and you can see that this, I was just talking about that clip. This switch is sitting on top of that metal clip. It's not, somebody's had this out before. That's common. Almost all of these have been out and repaired before. So when I hook on here and lift it up, let's see how, okay, there's a stainless steel clip. You see that back there? This one's got one on it. So that clip kind of helps it hold the switch into place. So I'll go ahead and lift that switch out. Okay, now you can get a real good look at that stainless steel clip, and you can kind of see how it fits up under here and helps hold that switch down in place. You've only got, on the bottom of this one, you've only got the one wire instead of two like on the other side. And it's just a little bit different, but it's pretty much the same. The procedure is pretty much the same. So I'll go ahead and remove that wire, and then we'll pull it out to get to the others. Okay, I've got these wires pulled out, and you can see them. They're pretty much like the other side, just a little fewer wires. You'll notice there's no ground coming to this. Now there's a ground here on this one. This is part of the door lock wiring, but for the window wiring there's a power wire and an up and a down and an up and a down, but there's no ground. The ground is provided by the normally closed switch on the driver's side. And the reason I tell you that is both of these switches have to be working properly for the windows to work on both sides, even with the local switch. If there's a problem on the other side, it's not going to work. If there's a problem on this side, it may not work over there. So that's the deal. Alright, I hope you can see this. I'm out in so much sun, I'm having a little difficulty seeing it, but okay, we're under that metal clip I was telling you about before, and now you can see how you have to squeeze this stainless thing into place before, there you go, and then you push it down, and we're in good shape now. So all back together. All I need to do is put the armrest back on it, and that's how you do it.